Let's shift a little bit into like specific departments that are kind of going here. And so Jeff, I'm gonna kind of toss it over to you and let you start first. When you start talking about the things that are happening on the back end with integrations and all the different stuff like that, what is your department working on? Where does that connect with the rest of operations and maybe some of the others? What are you working at?
Everybody here knows multifamily has a lot of different variables, right? I mean, when you start looking at how they pay bills, how do they manage units, how do they manage vendors, etc. We needed a back-end system where we could do that. And we could handle a owner, a management, and a property, and multiple variations of that. So we first looked at our accounting system, which we didn't think QuickBooks could handle that. So we vetted several systems and came up with NetSuite. So within the first year here, we worked a lot on implementing NetSuite, thinking our source of truth would be that, which it will be for accounting and inventory. But as we started developing our sales team, we got into Salesforce and developing Salesforce and implementing that. And as we went through that process, and from my perspective, it brings a lot of teams together on one call and one function. So from my perspective, I get to see and interface with all those people. And, that's the coolest job really in the building. When you get to interface and work and try to build back-end systems that are going to work for everybody, and not only get them up and running, but then start filling the gaps in between there and making the well-oiled machine that Omar talked about earlier. Yeah. So from there, Salesforce, we went into Service Cloud, which is another cloud of Salesforce. And it made sense to migrate off Zendesk and get our user base into one system. And then from there, we went into Community Cloud, which really is going to be a portal for our customers. It's going to basically bring them into our world where they can do things like service requests, they can see dashboards, they can look at KPIs related to their property, they can pay bills, a multiple of things. And we can build upon that the more our systems start talking to each other more.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the integrations between those two systems. So that brings in even more teams and more functions and makes things even work, a lot more seamlessly. And it's been a struggle. I'm not going to say it's not been easy, because we've added teams right in the middle of all of this. And we've added needs along the way. But we're starting to see those pieces come together.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see those pieces connect. And we're starting to see data exchange in a way to where we don't have to go pull that from somebody, which has been part of the process and some of the struggles. But at least you know where it came from, right?
Yeah.
When you have to go get it, you know where it came from, and you know how to basically build that connection to make it work seamlessly and kind of like a well-oiled machine. So
we'll kind of keep going this direction here. So Omar, talk technical operations with your group here.
I'm going to do this very quick and high level, right? Because I can talk forever. As mentioned earlier, right? The technical operations department is comprised of a lot of different teams. Not in any particular order, but I'll try and keep them there. So the contract administration team, they work a lot with the sales group, right? Getting contracts ready. They work a lot with the tech ops group, doing those pieces there with Tessa's team, right, to do that.
Folks
so you have
like Christy
Howard, right, and her team.
Yep.
They handle the contract pieces, right? Work a lot with Larry, Brent, all those guys to do that. Then the next part of it is along with that, what I was consider my technical operations group, and that's Kyle Pritchard and his team. And that part of it is they are the subject matter experts when it comes to anything technical in our products that we're deploying. Along with that, the warehouse operation, John McBride over there, when we have to get product in, ready, configured, and shipped out, right, to these places. And then Kelsey Smith heads up the project management team. They're the ones that are the care and feeding and working to get this product implemented and delivered, first of all, on time, with as minimal risks as possible that are hitting it. So she in turn is looking to the tech ops team with Kyle and then for any technical guidance, questions that come up, working with Tessa's team to make sure that they're incorporated in that project as well, because at the end of the project, we will hand off fully to Tessa's team. So they start building that relationship in there, right? So you can start seeing how all these pieces, Tessa's training team, I won't speak too much about that, so she can talk about that, but they're also involved in this project, right? As we're training our customers how to use this platform to do that. So all of those pieces, those 4 teams, different sub-departments that are in there, they're constantly moving parts. It's like puzzle pieces, right? Working with different teams, keeping the sales groups up to date of how we're deploying this. So not very many people can say what the operations group can say is that we touch every department. You know, we work with the marketing group when we're out there on site, right? Of how we're rolling out the collateral to these people for them to use. So work with the sales team all the time. So we're really fortunate. We were laughing the other day, we were talking to this group, and we were like, operations is not for the faint of heart, right? Casey and Katie and Jeff Lowry, all those guys know that it's not for the faint of heart too, right? Because they go through the same trials and tribulations in their arena where it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And but the flip side of that is really cool because you get to work with everybody, right? There's not somebody that you don't touch.
Yeah. All right, let's slide it on over right over here to right, because y'all work very closely together, but at the same time, your people are inputting, information into various platforms that you guys are picking up. Talk about the customer experience piece of this.
I'll tell you this, my team's definitely, they're rock stars. I mean, we have handpicked some amazing folks. Not only do they come from some of them come from on-site, but some of them don't. But just the team itself and helping Jeff build out Salesforce, they jump right in there and they're engaged and they want to finish, from beginning to end. To Omar's team being engaged when a project's being deployed, right? We want to make sure, and even before Omar's team, right?
Sales group.
They are talking to sales constantly. They even bring the CSMs into the fold. Sometimes they bring the training team into the fold. Because not only does the customer want to know before they sign on that dotted line, are we going to have that support after we sign?
Yeah.
Because, other companies don't have that.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we're going to be trained in ongoing training. When there's feature enhancements that come out, we want to make sure that our teams are the first to know and how to use it. From there, if we have an issue, who do we call? Do they work 24/7? When are they on? So that's what my team does. The support team, we have 4 guys, Kurt, Pete, Brian, and Brian. They are
Soon to hire another guy named Brian.
Brian too.
But I'll tell you this, they are on top of it on the weekends, after hours. We have an emergency, they're on it. They're escalating it.
Yeah.
And so much appreciation for that. And they communicate with the CSMs so the CSMs know that if they need to reach out to the regional, the VPs of that community, we're making sure we have clear communication on what's going on.
I want to jump to Larry for a second to talk about the broadband piece of things. That's something you've been doing. You've talked about this. You have a wealth of experience with this, but talk through what that looks like, the actual putting this stuff on property, taking care of the managers and all that. Give us a, kind of a day-to-day, this is kind of some of the in the weeds pieces of that.
Sure. So it changes on a regular basis. We have, since 2017, we've implemented so many communities in so many different ways. And we've actually influenced the industry in terms of how do you do multifamily. And what I mean by that is there were practices that had been used by major telecoms in the past that we said, hey, that's not going to work. We need to change this, we need to change that. And so today we have some processes that work on property, and here's where it gets real wonky. Because every address, every community that's out there has some telecom agreement in place that allows for that telecom company to provide service to residents. The owners don't have that agreement with that resident yet, and what we're trying to do is put a bulk package in, which takes the relationship from a telecom to the owner, and then from the owner to the resident. So that's the complexity of a bulk agreement. The benefit is obvious. The resident gets a lower cost product. The product is there and ready, always on, so that when they move in, they have internet. And then the great thing is the owner gets to participate in some of that profit margin. That used to go all to the telecom. So there's a lot of moving parts in that. But we've developed some technologies, and we're working probably more closely with Charter Communications. They own about 45% of all of the apartments in America they serve. About 40% are owned by Comcast. So between the two of them, you're 90% there, right? And so in our communities, Houston is Comcast, Xfinity, Dallas area is Spectrum, Charter. So we work with them, developing their products, but we're also helping the property staff understand how, if something goes wrong, who do you call, right?
Yeah.
And if nothing else, they're gonna call Quext. And so whereas Charter may come and do a great job when they install it all, they kind of go away and they're expecting things to just run like it should, but things happen, right? And it could be a commercial power failure that happens, especially in Houston. There's a power grid that not as reliable as all the apartment owners would like. So when that, and that's not the fault of the telecom, but if power is out, guess what? Internet's probably not gonna work. But so we get involved with that because we'll say, why is the power failing? In an electrical storm we found in Dallas that there was some technology implementation that didn't go well, and lightning was causing equipment failures that were put in by the vendor. So we worked with our vendor to rewire their solutions. So that's the complexity. I don't know if I'm hitting on what you needed to hear from, but some of the in the weeds stuff that's happening.
Let's talk, Brent. I'm going to let you kind of jump into this first, right? With where Quext is, you are, I think we could still call ourselves in a lot of ways a startup. We've got a lot of great things going when it comes to making our mark on various industries and different groups, but we also have a lot of products in development, still learning the best way to scale various installations and those types of things. So, and then what it looks like for procedures when it comes to taking care of customers, and then also still making certain these things talk to each other. These various things are working together. Let's talk challenges for just a little bit.
Okay.
What do you see as some of the kind of from maybe a 30,000 foot perspective, some of the challenges that Quext is walking through right now?
Well, I think there is a if you look at how Quext came about, so let's go back to the beginning. We had, I think Sean was probably the first employee of Quext, if I remember correctly.
0001.
0001,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And working with Dave Marcinkowski and eventually all these other people start coming on and adding to it. So at that time they were Madera, right? And so now you have this Madera. They got this Madera culture that it works great for Madera. But we're now moving into a technology company, right? And so typically technology companies have a little bit different culture, right? It's probably the best way. It's just different, right? There's various things about these two different cultures and how it's a different industry, right? And so I think part of the challenge is how do we, without divorcing ourselves from Madera, which is in my mind a key to the success that we've had, up to this point, and our ability to test product and service those properties and so forth. But how do we then become our own organization and deliver those services and work together as a team and so forth? So I think that's step one is we're working, and I think you'll see as we go forward through this year some different things that we're going to put in place that will help us kind of address some of those things and say, how do we become create our own culture, if you will, for a technology company? That's one. I think the other is we do have a lot of products, right? And so it's not like we have one product and we are let's get it done, and then we can kind of build a process around this product and we can get it to market and support and service that product. It is, we're adding more and more products each year.
Yeah.
And again, as I mentioned earlier, to me that's exciting, and I think to a lot of the team now it could be frustrating as well, right? But now you're having to handle different products because they don't always behave the same, and they don't necessarily need the same kind of support or the same kind of services or whatever it might be. So it requires other skill sets and other processes and systems
And draws different collection of customers.
and draws different customers, right? And so again, the old building the airplane while it's in the air is true. And so that would that would be the challenges, I think. And I think the great thing is this team, and I'll speak of the other departments, our tech group and marketing and so forth, sales. I think it's the group to get it done, because I mean, I think we have assembled, and the leadership here has assembled a really good team to pull it off. It doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges, but it's an opportunity, I think, for people to show what they can do, and have a good time doing it, I hope.
Yeah.
One of my personal challenges, I'll just speak for myself, is patience, right? I don't have a lot.
Sorry.
I don't have a lot. So, for example, I go in Tessa's organization. They're handling questions from customers. Either it's a kind of an educational type question or a functionality type question, and we think, man, don't we have a product called Digital Human? And doesn't Digital Human have a lot of capabilities to, if we populate it with the right kind of questions, it can have nice answers? And so I think about that. No, it's just time and money as you get to a priority, but that kind of a thing is another separator for us. With a suite of products that each one on its own is powerful, but the sum of the parts is greater. If you now have Digital Human and IoT, you have a better solution than if you just had either one by itself.
Right.
And those kinds of things that are going to come, it's just like, and then behind all of that is another piece of we haven't dug much into, which is data mining. Some of this information that our systems are gathering, the owners, the operators, and ourselves. There's some value to be had from that, and we've talked about it since the beginning of this 2017 when I first joined, and we're trying to figure out how do we put in a door lock and a thermostat, and it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get there someday. Sooner, hopefully.
Well, it's just like Brent said earlier, right? You have, once again, we're very fortunate that we have a lot of people in our organization that are very entrepreneurial mindsets and creative, right? And I gave the analogy the other day to a family member. It's like, you feel like you're in a relay race and we're passing batons. And you have a whole nother group of people standing there with the baton that had, put me in, a new product, put me in.
Exactly.
We're not ready for you. Hold on. No, but I'm here, put me in. But that is the cool part about this, right? Is that I feel like we have very smart and bright people in this organization, right? In Madeira companies as a whole. And this is we're just scratching the surface.
Thank y'all so much for doing this. Thank you for being a part of it and being willing to share not just your expertise, to brag on your teams, to give us a picture of how your things are working together. Because I think whether you are Quext or whether you are Madeira or Viva or Select, and just knowing you're hearing about these other companies, just knowing what you're doing it's fun to see that and see the picture that you guys are getting to paint together. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So to the Madeira companies, to all of you guys, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this and for learning about all the things that are going on. I think I speak for everybody at the table. We're proud for you and the work that you're doing, and I think these guys are trying to do great work that makes your lives easier. And so thanks for joining us, and have a great day.